Hi everyone, 22nd of June, Thursday, 6 minutes past 2 in the afternoon. Today I'm just going to cover a quick little bit of a review on Bancor. Now, I've had a little bit of a discussion on my steemit.com profile in regards to a blog I did on Bancor, and initially my article was about Bancor, Bancor, being discussed in 2011 with the IMF in regards to a new one world reserve currency. Now, that was just a quick little article. I haven't looked too much further past that. That was in 2011. There's been a little bit of talk saying that that's not what Bancor is in regards to the cryptocurrency itself. I'm not totally convinced yet. I mean, if you're going to use a name of any particular entities such as Bancor, I would have thought would have been some intellectual property issues. So maybe there isn't. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Someone's liked the name and they've used it, or they understood the reference, got away with it, checked the IP, and they've decided to ride that wave. However, what I did talk about also was a rumour in regards to backdoor access to the smart contracts with the Bancor crowd sale. Now, I didn't get involved with the crowd sale. I heard this rumour and I went, nope, I'm out, because I didn't know enough and I just wanted to do the research. Now, I've come across some information. Someone has diligently gone and found the code within the smart contracts and done an analysis of what that means, which verifies three particular backdoor accesses, which is pretty scary stuff, and I'm going to run you through what they are. And if anyone can verify the code, which you'll be able to see on the video, or tell me that if it's accurate or not. However, Bancor, a token full of backdoors. So I'm going to read this out. When people think of cryptocurrencies or digital assets or whatever the cool kids call them today, they think of decentralized, censorship-resistant tokens that no central party could control for any reason. And while some projects have various degrees of decentralization, I've never seen a token as centralized as BNT that puts so much power in the hands of so few. The Bancor token contract, the BNT, controls the token and its behavior. It is currently owned by the Bancor crowd sale contract, which is owned in turn by a closed source contract, which is most likely a multi-sig account held by the project and or its partners. So there's various little smart contracts connecting all of these together, and the Bancor crowd sale is just finished. Now, these are the three little elements that have been identified, and I want to run through them with you. So these are the powers that the Bancor crowd sale contract allows its owners being the project administrators. All transactions using the BNT token can be disabled by the team at any time for any reason. Presumably the capability is there to allow the tokens to be frozen immediately after the crowd sale for about a week until Bancor's main product is ready. However, for some reason after they'll unfreeze the tokens, the team will retain the option to freeze transactions again at any time. So even if they have good intentions and they have this access to freeze it for whatever reason, I don't think it's a common access to these contracts, and this guy has been able to identify access. Now, they would have to actually implement changes to the smart contract in future to disable this access. And at the moment, they have the ability to freeze any transactions at any time in the future, which in regards to decentralization is a very scary power to have. So that's number one. Number two, the team can issue new tokens at any time. This is the scariest one. Now, what makes decentralized cryptocurrency so attractive? For example, with Bitcoin, there's only 21 million coins mined and put onto the market over a period of time, whatever that is, about 20 years. And what you'll find is that makes these coins lucrative in the sense that there's a cap of how many are accessible. And at the moment, our fiat currency system, which is failing across the world, the Fed Reserve is just printing, the central banks are printing lots and lots of fiat currency to try to prop up this failing and collapsing market, and everyone thinks it's very healthy, but it's not. I think it's $1 billion of fiat currency, and it's probably more now, is released onto the market every month, and it's not backed by anything. So we've got a Ponzi scheme big time. And it's just getting worse and worse, and inflation, we're probably going to hit a deflationary hyperinflation at some stage, so the market's got to collapse at some stage. and I think this is where the cryptocurrencies are going to save the day. But how's it all going to work is still what we're asking for. So the team can issue new tokens at any time. Bancor's Changer product requires the ability to create tokens programmatically based on a market-making formula distilled in another smart contract. So it must have the ability to create more tokens. However, for some reason, the team has the ability to create new tokens arbitrarily for whatever reason they choose. So this is the scary thing. They may have a claim that there's a certain amount of tokens that are going to be released onto the market, but if they can produce tokens at any stage, that's pretty scary. That's going to dilute the value of these tokens over any particular time, and it could also affect the price of the markets if they did produce a certain amount of tokens and then decide to liquidate those tokens at the current market price. And that's why a lot of people, I think, stayed away from Ripple initially, is because there was 100 billion tokens held by the project team and particular people, and they could actually liquidate these tokens at any time. And that was a scary thing in regards to for an investor. You do want to see some scarcity in regards to the coins, and I think the ones that do have a cap on how many coins are released are definitely going to do better than the ones that have a backdoor, such as this. This screams out Ponzi scheme, and it screams out possible corruption at any stage. So, I mean, these are things to be mindful of. Number 3, shockingly, the team can destroy any tokens from any account at any time. Once again, Bancor's Changer product requires the ability to programmatically destroy tokens sent to its contract, so there has to be a functionality to destroy tokens, but it could be easily limited to destroying only tokens sent to that contract. Instead, the team has the power to pick any account's tokens and destroy any amount of them at any time for any reason. Again, even if you've got the keys to these particular tokens, they have access to destroy them at any stage. Now, I'm not 100% aware of the full ramifications of that particular backdoor, but it doesn't sound good. Being able to access particular accounts, information and tokens of any sort and destroy them without any reason is probably something to be very, very worried about. That's going down. The third point is unheard of. I've looked at other high-profile contracts managing other tokens and couldn't find anything similar. This puts unprecedented and worse, unexpected power in the hands of the contract owners. So what's this is all saying, and I can probably say I'm guilty of this, and everyone that's watching this is probably guilty of not necessarily reading terms and conditions to things that we decide to interact with, whether that's with the power company or with your gym or with smart contracts in regards to investments and these type of things. I think there's a lot of faith we put into the system, and we think it's the normalcy bias where nothing's going to go wrong. So she'll be right, mate. It's all good, and then certain things can happen. So I think with this unregulated industry of cryptocurrencies, I think it's going to pay to have a little bit more an understanding on what we're actually getting into. Now, I wouldn't necessarily read all of this code and be able to translate it into the language that this gentleman has done. So I think there needs to be some regulation and a little bit more disclosure. There needs to be a non-coded version in plain English that people can understand, so they know what they're getting into. And it should be, there has to have a level of disclosure. Backdoor in regards to currencies have got to be a no-no in regards to this decentralized world. That's just how it's got to be. Now, just going down, I've got Martin Holst Swender, which is a security lead at Ethereum, wrote in his report, the Bancor protocol implementation has a security model based on a centralized trust. The owner of the contracts has, to a larger degree, full control over assets traded over the platform. Since the Bancor protocol is a fairly complex scheme, it makes sense to have a centralized model, at least initially. Doesn't make sense too much. I mean, that's just a band-aid, and it sounds like he's almost justifying having access to backdoors. Are there backdoors to other cryptocurrencies? That's what I'm asking. What about Ethereum? What about Bitcoin? Has someone actually gone and looked into these things? Is there things that we've overlooked? Are we just getting all very excited about cryptocurrencies and they're throwing the word decentralized around, and then some nerd decides to go into this a little bit more and finds the answers that we're looking for? I'm a bit worried, a little bit, in regards to the future, and I think there needs to be a regulated body who's looking into the code and verifying all elements. Here's another little comment from Nick Johnson, who's the Ethereum's foundation member, or a Ethereum foundation member. Participants should note that the contracts as authorised for the crowd sales are not trustless and depend on the good behaviour of Bancor. Good behaviour. That's why we have governments. They're not going to hurt us, are they? Bancor have stated that this is intentional, intended to allow them to respond and remedy any issues that come up during the crowd sale and in earlier operation. What's the definition of early operation? 10 years? 20 years? 1 year? Whatever it is. And at that, manual oversight will be exchanged for more automated operation once they are confident the system is working as intended. Again, that's relying on good faith. You have a contract, and you're investing into this, and it's all about good behaviour. I mean, there's so much corruption in this world. I don't know these people, and for me to go and invest in them, I'd want a little bit more disclosure. Just going down. Although normally, so in some cases, backdoors are deliberate and widely known. These kinds of backdoors might have legitimate uses, such as providing the manufacturer with a way to restore their passwords. But that's separate. Well, that's an article. Just a reference to what a backdoor is. I think I don't have a big problem with backdoors, except if they're to create more coins. When they say there's a cap, and then all of a sudden, we've produced an extra million. That's opening up for corruption, and it definitely sounds like a Ponzi scheme of some sort, or there's dangers in that. When it's restore users' passwords, that's understood. I think there's going to be a bit of duality here, what's good and what's not, and again, that needs some regulation. I'm pretty sure that the Bancor's team has no intention to misuse these backdoors, that they believe they have legitimate users. I'm not 100% sure of their legitimacy myself, but in any case I would argue that their existence should be clearly communicated to investors. People in this space expect the control over tokens to be fully decentralised, and if for some reason they're not, this should be made very clear. And I agree with that. Full disclosure from the start before you invest your money is very important. Recommendations. I think this is very valid. For the Bancor project, I'd recommend to immediately restructure the contracts to remove the team's capability to freeze, issue or destroy assets. Otherwise, a proper advisory should be given to investors and industry members about the existence of these backdoors and how to mitigate their risks. Number 2, exchanges. The safest route would be to delay listing BNT tokens until the team resolves or removes the backdoors. If this is not possible, at the very least inform users during the deposit process that their tokens may be frozen or destroyed by Bancor, and adapt the exchange's system to monitor that tokens remain non-destroyed and liquid. For future crowd sales, in order to be fully transparent with potential investors and users, it would be best if ICO projects share a clear English translation of all their smart contracts that explains step by step what the contract does. More than anything else, it should focus on the differences between the written terms and the contract itself, differences that sometimes have to exist, and I agree with that. A lot of us are lazy in regards to our investments. We just put in a lot of trust, and I think there's a lot to be done in regards to regulating these backdoors and information, and probably a little bit more control over the ICOs. I think there's been so much money pumped into ICOs. This is based on crowdfunding on products that have no base behind them. They haven't proved their product success. You're actually investing in the potential of a product, and that's even a little bit scarier. So there's the 3 backdoors on Bancor. I'm not paying out Bancor. I'm not saying they're going to be corrupt. I think what this does is highlights that there's some issues that as a collective we need to be more diligent with and more aware of. Otherwise we could put ourselves at risk. And I think there could be some things that blow up out of this, not necessarily with the Bancor issue, but in general. We've already seen one scam this week. I think it was eCoin or whatever it was, empowercoin.com, has closed down their website and just run off with a whole heap of Bitcoin. That's not necessarily to do with smart contracts, but again, people handed money over in good trust and good faith, and now that money has gone. And you could say that about banks. You can put money in your bank. They own. That's what a lot of people don't realise, is that you're putting money into their bank. If a bank goes insolvent, you lose your money, right? And a lot of people don't realise this. We have, too big to fall, or is it too big to fail? Ideology or normalcy bias. I think if you're holding, that's why this decentralised world is so important. You've got your own wallets on your own computer. You're your own bank. You're the one that's responsible for your own funds. You choose the fees. You choose where you send your funds and the security. I think that's the future. Definitely 100%. I think that's the way to go. And anyone that's sick of the political games that we've had to put up with in my lifetime, you get to a point where you just go, and I've had enough. So, Bancor, interesting. Backdoors. Let me know what you think on this one. Thanks for listening, guys. And I've got some more videos to do. I've got a couple of reviews. And thanks for watching. So tune into the next one.